I saw the face of God, and it wasn't what I expected. These words, spoken by a formerly atheist doctor, challenge everything we think we know about spirituality and science. Dr. Rachel Cohen's near-death experience didn't just bring her to the brink of the afterlife. It revealed hidden truths about Kabbalah that have remained secret for centuries. Are you ready to question reality as you know it? Dr. Rachel Cohen was the epitome of a rational, scientific mind. With a prestigious medical degree and years of experience as a respected surgeon, she approached life with the cool logic of a scientist. Her traditional Jewish upbringing had instilled in her a sense of cultural identity, but her faith in the empirical world of medicine had long since overshadowed any spiritual inclinations. In the sterile corridors of the hospital where she worked, Dr. Cohen was known for her steady hand and sharp intellect. She viewed the human body as a complex machine, its mysteries unraveled through careful study and precise intervention. The notion of a soul or an afterlife seemed to her like quaint relics of a less enlightened era, best left to philosophers and theologians. When colleagues would share stories of patients' near-death experiences or spiritual encounters, Dr. Cohen would listen politely but dismissively. She attributed such accounts to the tricks of an oxygen-deprived brain or the power of suggestion. The mind is capable of creating elaborate illusions, she would often say, especially in times of extreme stress or trauma. This conflict between science and spirituality was not unique to Dr. Cohen. Throughout the medical community, there existed a tension between those who embraced a purely materialistic view of existence and those who believed in realms beyond the physical. Dr. Cohen firmly stood with the former, her faith placed in the tangible world of cells, synapses, and scalpels. Little did she know that her worldview was about to be shaken to its very core. On what began as an ordinary Tuesday morning, Dr. Cohen arrived at the hospital for her usual rounds. The day progressed normally until mid-afternoon, when she began to feel unusually fatigued. Attributing it to a busy schedule and lack of sleep, she pushed through, determined to complete her tasks. As she examined a patient's chart, a sudden searing pain erupted in her chest. The clipboard clattered to the floor as she clutched at her heart, gasping for breath. Her colleagues, initially frozen in shock, sprang into action as Dr. Cohen collapsed. The irony was not lost on her. The healer had become the patient, her life now in the hands of those she had trained and worked alongside. In the chaotic moments that followed, as her colleagues fought to save her life, Dr. Cohen felt a strange sense of calm descend upon her. The pain receded, replaced by an otherworldly lightness. As the doctors shouted orders and the crash cart was wheeled in, she experienced a sensation she had never believed possible, a separation of consciousness from her physical form. In that moment, suspended between life and death, Dr. Rachel Cohen began a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about existence, consciousness, and the very nature of reality itself. The line between life and death is often thought to be clear-cut, but what if that boundary is more permeable than we imagine? Dr. Cohen's experience challenges our understanding of consciousness itself, blurring the lines between the physical and the spiritual in ways that defy conventional explanation. As her colleagues worked frantically to revive her physical form, Dr. Cohen found herself in a state of heightened awareness, completely detached from her body. The familiar sights and sounds of the hospital faded away, replaced by a realm that defied her scientific understanding. Gone were the beeping monitors, the rush of medical staff, and the cold touch of instruments. In their place, a vast expanse of light and energy surrounded her. The sensations in this new state were unlike anything Dr. Cohen had ever experienced. Colors seemed more vivid, almost alive with their own consciousness. Sounds took on a musical quality, resonating with a harmony that spoke directly to her soul. Even her perception of time shifted, stretching and compressing in ways that made linear thinking obsolete. As a neurologist, Dr. Cohen couldn't help but analyze her experience through the lens of her scientific training. She was acutely aware that current neuroscience attributes near-death experiences to the brain's reaction to extreme stress or oxygen deprivation. Some researchers suggest that DMT, a powerful psychedelic compound naturally produced in the body, may play a role in these vivid hallucinations. Yet, the clarity and coherence of her experience seemed to transcend mere hallucination. Every detail was sharper, more real than anything she had known in her physical life. As she floated in this sea of consciousness, Dr. Cohen felt a profound sense of connection to something greater than herself, a vast network of energy that seemed to underlie all of existence. Just as she began to acclimate to this new reality, something even more extraordinary occurred. Figures began to materialize around her, their forms shimmering with an otherworldly light. These weren't the angels or deceased relatives often reported in near-death experiences. Instead, Dr. Cohen recognized them as ancient spiritual guides, their appearances reminiscent of figures she had seen in old Kabbalistic texts. Their presence filled her with a mix of awe and trepidation. These beings radiated wisdom and power, their very essence seeming to hold the secrets of the universe. As they drew closer, Dr. Cohen sensed that she was on the cusp of receiving profound revelations, truths that would challenge everything she thought she knew about spirituality, consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. As the luminous figures approached, Dr. Cohen felt a surge of recognition. These weren't just any spiritual beings, they were the very sages she had read about in ancient Kabbalistic texts. But how could figures from Jewish mysticism appear in her near-death experience? And what secrets of the universe were they about to unveil? In Jewish mysticism, the concept of spiritual guides is deeply rooted. These celestial mentors, often referred to as Magidim, are believed to impart divine wisdom and guidance to those who seek it. Yet, for Dr. Cohen, their sudden manifestation was both awe-inspiring and perplexing. Her scientific mind grappled with the reality before her, struggling to reconcile the tangible world she knew with this ethereal realm she now inhabited. Each figure emanated a unique aura, their forms shimmering with an otherworldly light. One radiated a gentle blue hue, reminiscent of the deepest ocean, while another glowed with the warm, golden tones of a summer sunset. Their appearances seemed to shift and change, as if adapting to Dr. Cohen's perception, making it difficult for her to fully grasp their true nature. As she gazed upon these mystical beings, Dr. Cohen recalled the Kabbalistic teachings about the role of ancestors in spiritual guidance. In Jewish tradition, the souls of the righteous are believed to intercede on behalf of the living, offering protection and insight. Could these luminous figures be the very ancestors spoken of in ancient texts? The air around her seemed to vibrate with anticipation, as if the very fabric of this spiritual realm was eager to reveal its secrets. Dr. Cohen sensed that these guides held knowledge far beyond her comprehension, truths that could reshape her understanding of existence itself. The tension between her scientific skepticism and the undeniable reality of her current experience created a palpable energy, electric with possibility. As the guides drew nearer, their presence became more profound. Dr. Cohen felt a warmth envelop her, a sense of unconditional love and acceptance that transcended any earthly emotion she had ever experienced. In that moment, she knew that whatever message they brought would alter the course of her life irrevocably. With a gentle gesture, the figure bathed in golden light beckoned her forward. As Dr. Cohen approached, she felt the first stirrings of revelation, like the initial notes of a grand symphony. The guides began to speak, not with words, but through a form of pure thought and emotion that bypassed language entirely. In this cosmic exchange, Dr. Cohen stood on the precipice of enlightenment, poised to receive hidden spiritual truths that had eluded humanity for millennia. As the first waves of wisdom washed over her, Dr. Cohen realized that her journey into the heart of Kabbalah had only just begun. The revelations that awaited her promised to challenge not only her personal beliefs, but the very foundations of human understanding about the nature of existence and consciousness. Imagine possessing a key that unlocks the deepest mysteries of the universe. For Dr. Cohen, her near-death experience became that key, opening doors to Kabbalistic knowledge that even the most devoted scholars had never accessed. What secrets lay beyond those doors, and how would they reshape our understanding of spirituality? As the ancient guides surrounded her, Dr. Cohen felt a surge of understanding wash over her. Kabbalah, once a complex system of Jewish mysticism she had only glimpsed through academic study, suddenly became crystal clear. The basic tenets she had struggled to grasp in life now unfolded before her with startling clarity. The tree of life, a fundamental concept in Kabbalah, revealed itself not as a static diagram, but as a living, breathing entity. Each sephira pulsed with energy, interconnected in ways Dr. Cohen had never imagined. The guides showed her how these divine emanations flowed through all of creation, linking the physical and spiritual realms in an intricate dance of cosmic energy. Dr. Cohen's prior knowledge of Kabbalah paled in comparison to the revelations she now received. The concept of Ein Sof, the infinite and unknowable aspect of God, expanded beyond her previous understanding. She experienced it as an all-encompassing presence, both transcendent and immanent, permeating every aspect of existence. The guides unveiled the true nature of the soul, revealing its complex structure and eternal journey. Dr. Cohen witnessed how each soul contained divine sparks, fragments of celestial light that yearned to reunite with their source. This concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world, took on new significance as she understood how every action in the physical realm rippled through the spiritual dimensions. As these profound insights flowed into her consciousness, Dr. Cohen sensed how they challenged conventional understanding of Kabbalah. The interpretations debated by scholars for centuries seemed limited in the face of this direct experience. She realized that the true essence of these mystical teachings lay not in intellectual analysis, but in direct spiritual perception. The experience shed new light on Kabbalistic practices and rituals. Prayer and meditation, Dr. Cohen now understood, were not mere symbolic acts, but powerful tools for aligning oneself with the cosmic energies that flowed through creation. Each Hebrew letter revealed itself as a channel for divine energy, capable of affecting change in both the spiritual and physical realms. As the final waves of revelation subsided, Dr. Cohen felt transformed. The Kabbalah she had known through study was a pale shadow compared to the living, breathing spiritual reality she had experienced. She now understood that these ancient teachings were not just a philosophical system, but a roadmap to the very fabric of existence. The guide's presence began to fade, but as they receded, Dr. Cohen sensed a new awareness dawning. The individual revelations about Kabbalah were coalescing into something even more profound. A glimpse of the cosmic interconnectedness that bound all of existence together. She stood on the threshold of an even greater mystery, one that promised to reveal the true nature of reality itself. The guide's presence faded, but Dr. Cohen found herself teetering on the edge of an even greater revelation. What if everything we thought we knew about consciousness was just the tip of an unfathomable cosmic iceberg? The next moment would challenge not just her understanding of Kabbalah, but the very nature of reality itself. As Dr. Cohen's awareness expanded, she encountered a concept that mystics across cultures have described for millennia: cosmic consciousness. This wasn't merely an abstract idea, but a visceral experience that enveloped her entire being. She felt herself becoming aware of a vast, interconnected web of energy that seemed to underlie all of existence. The visual and sensory experience was overwhelming. Colors shifted and pulsed with life, each hue seeming to represent a different aspect of reality. Sounds became visible, creating intricate patterns that danced before her. Dr. Cohen sensed that she was perceiving the fundamental vibrations that compose the universe itself. As a scientist, Dr. Cohen struggled to reconcile this experience with her understanding of physics and neuroscience. Yet, she couldn't help but draw parallels to quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where particles can be connected regardless of distance. Could this cosmic web be the macroscopic manifestation of quantum interconnectedness? The implications of this revelation were staggering. If all of existence was truly interconnected at this fundamental level, it meant that every action, every thought, had ripple effects throughout the entire cosmos. Dr. Cohen began to understand the profound responsibility that came with this knowledge. As she grappled with the enormity of this understanding, Dr. Cohen felt a shift in her perception of self. The boundaries that had once defined her individual identity began to blur. She experienced herself not as a separate entity, but as an integral part of this cosmic tapestry, unique yet inseparable from the whole. This revelation transformed Dr. Cohen's view of reality in ways she could never have imagined. The world she had known, with its clear divisions and categorical thinking, now seemed like a limited perspective on a much grander truth. She realized that her entire approach to medicine, to life, and to her understanding of consciousness would need to be re-evaluated in light of this cosmic interconnectedness. As this new awareness settled into her being, Dr. Cohen sensed that her journey was far from over. The cosmic web had shown her the interconnected nature of all things. But now a new question arose. If all of existence was part of this grand tapestry, what was the role of the individual soul within it? She stood poised, on the brink of yet another profound revelation, one that promised to unveil the mysteries of the soul's eternal journey. In the cosmic web of interconnectedness, Dr. Cohen encountered a new revelation that challenged traditional Jewish concepts of the soul. The nefesh, ruach, and neshama, the three levels of the soul in Jewish tradition, took on new meaning as she witnessed their true nature and purpose. The near-death experience expanded these concepts beyond their conventional understanding. Dr. Cohen perceived the soul not as a singular entity, but as a multifaceted essence that transcended time and space. She saw how each soul was intricately connected to the cosmic tapestry, yet maintained its unique identity throughout its eternal journey. As the veil between worlds thinned, Dr. Cohen gained profound insights into the soul's journey through lifetimes. She witnessed how souls incarnated repeatedly, each life serving as a classroom for spiritual growth and evolution. The Kabbalistic concept of Gilgul Neshamot, the cycling of souls, unfolded before her, revealing the purpose behind the seemingly random circumstances of each life. In this ethereal realm, Dr. Cohen encountered Kabbalistic teachings on reincarnation and soul purpose with startling clarity. She saw how each soul carried within it a divine spark, a unique mission to fulfill across multiple lifetimes. The choices made in each incarnation rippled through time, affecting not only the individual soul, but the entire cosmic web. The implications of this knowledge were profound. Dr. Cohen realized that every decision, every interaction in life held far greater significance than she had ever imagined. She saw how acts of kindness and spiritual growth in one lifetime created positive reverberations that echoed through subsequent incarnations. As she absorbed these revelations, Dr. Cohen felt a growing sense of responsibility. The knowledge of the soul's eternal journey and its interconnected nature brought with it a deep understanding of the impact of every choice. She realized that each person's actions could potentially alter the course of not just their own soul's journey, but that of countless others. This newfound awareness promised to reshape Dr. Cohen's understanding of human existence. The boundaries between life and death blurred, revealing a continuous cycle of growth and evolution. She saw how the purpose of life extended far beyond the physical realm, each incarnation serving as a stepping stone in the soul's eternal quest for unity with the divine. As the revelation about the soul's journey reached its crescendo, Dr. Cohen sensed a shift in her awareness. The cosmic expanse began to recede, and she felt a pull back towards the physical world. She stood on the precipice of returning to her body, knowing that the profound truths she had witnessed would forever alter her perception of life, death, and the nature of existence itself. As the cosmic expanse dissolved, Dr. Cohen felt a sudden, jarring pull. In an instant, she was thrust back into the harsh reality of the physical world. The transition was abrupt and disorienting, like being yanked from a vivid dream into wakefulness. The sterile hospital room materialized around her, its stark fluorescent lights, a stark contrast to the ethereal glow she had just experienced. The first sensation was pain, sharp, intense, and all-consuming. Her chest burned as if on fire, a reminder of the cardiac event that had precipitated her journey. The cacophony of medical equipment assaulted her ears, beeping monitors and urgent voices replacing the harmonious vibrations of the spiritual realm. Dr. Cohen gasped, her lungs desperately pulling in air as if she had been underwater for too long. As her consciousness fully reintegrated with her body, a tidal wave of emotions crashed over her. Awe, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of loss battled within her. The profound truths she had glimpsed seemed to slip away like water through cupped hands, leaving behind only a residue of their transformative power. The medical team surrounding her bed reacted with a mixture of relief and astonishment. "She's back!" someone exclaimed, their voice a blend of professional detachment and genuine amazement. Dr. Cohen's colleagues, who moments ago had been fighting to save her life, now watched in wonder as she opened her eyes, alive and alert. The physiological aspects of reviving from clinical death are well documented in medical literature. The body undergoes a complex process of cellular regeneration and reactivation. Oxygen floods back into tissues, electrical activity in the brain resurges, and hormones surge through the system. Yet for Dr. Cohen, this clinical understanding paled in comparison to the profound spiritual awakening she had just experienced. As her vital signs stabilized and the immediate crisis passed, Dr. Cohen became acutely aware that she was forever changed. The world around her seemed somehow both familiar and utterly foreign. She looked at her colleagues, the medical equipment, even her own hands with new eyes. Everything appeared more vivid, more interconnected, imbued with a significance she had never before perceived. The first whispers of her transformed worldview began to take shape in her mind. The boundaries between life and death, once so clear and definitive in her scientific understanding, now seemed permeable and fluid. The intricate dance of energy she had witnessed in the cosmic realm was reflected in the bustling activity of the hospital room, a microcosm of the greater interconnected whole. As Dr. Cohen lay there, surrounded by the trappings of modern medicine, she realized that integrating her otherworldly experience into her earthly life would be her greatest challenge yet. How could she reconcile the profound spiritual truths she had encountered with the rational scientific world she had always known? The journey of understanding and integration was just beginning, promising to reshape not only her own life, but potentially our collective understanding of consciousness and reality itself. What happens when the immovable object of scientific skepticism meets the unstoppable force of a transcendent spiritual experience? Dr. Cohen found herself at the epicenter of this cosmic collision, forced to confront a reality that her years of medical training had never prepared her for. The journey ahead would challenge everything she thought she knew about the nature of consciousness and the boundaries between life and death. As Dr. Cohen recovered in her hospital bed, her analytical mind began to search for rational explanations. She pored over medical journals, seeking scientific theories that could account for her extraordinary experience. The familiar territory of neuroscience offered some comfort, with studies suggesting that near-death experiences might be the result of complex neurochemical processes triggered by extreme stress. Yet, as she delved deeper into her research, Dr. Cohen found that purely materialistic explanations fell short. How could standard neurological models account for the vivid, coherent narrative of her journey? The profound insights into Kabbalistic wisdom she had gained seemed to transcend mere hallucination or the firing of random synapses. In her quest for understanding, Dr. Cohen reached out to colleagues in the medical community. The responses she received were as varied as they were passionate. Skeptics among her peers suggested that her experience was likely a product of an oxygen-deprived brain, a last-ditch effort of the mind to create meaning in the face of imminent death. They pointed to studies showing how the brain can create elaborate illusions under extreme conditions. On the other hand, Dr. Cohen found unexpected allies among medical professionals who had encountered similar cases. These colleagues shared stories of patients who had reported inexplicable knowledge or experiences during clinical death. Some even confided their own brushes with the inexplicable, experiences they had kept hidden for fear of professional ridicule. As she grappled with these conflicting perspectives, Dr. Cohen felt a growing sense of anticipation. She knew that resolving this internal conflict between her scientific training and her undeniable spiritual experience would be crucial not only for her personal peace of mind, but potentially for advancing our understanding of consciousness itself. In the quiet moments between tests and visitors, Dr. Cohen began to sketch out a new framework for understanding her experience. She envisioned a model that neither dismissed the rigors of scientific inquiry nor denied the reality of her spiritual encounter. Could there be a way to bridge these seemingly incompatible worldviews? The resolution, when it came, was both profound and elegantly simple. Dr. Cohen realized that science and spirituality need not be mutually exclusive. Instead, she began to see them as complementary approaches to understanding the vast mystery of existence. Her near-death experience hadn't negated her scientific knowledge. Rather, it had expanded the boundaries of what she considered possible. As Dr. Cohen embraced this new balance between scientific understanding and spiritual insight, she felt a sense of excitement building within her. She knew that this shift in perspective would have far-reaching implications, not just for her personal beliefs, but for her approach to medicine and her understanding of the human experience as a whole. The journey of reconciliation was complete, but a new adventure was just beginning, one that promised to revolutionize her medical practice and touch the lives of countless others. As Dr. Cohen prepared to return to her medical practice, a sense of anticipation and trepidation filled her. How would her colleagues react to a doctor who had experienced a profound near-death encounter? The answer would challenge not just her career, but the very foundations of modern medicine. Her first day back at the hospital was filled with curious glances and hushed conversations. Some colleagues approached her with genuine interest, while others maintained a skeptical distance. Dr. Cohen found herself navigating a delicate balance between her established role as a respected physician and her newfound spiritual insights. The challenge of integrating her spiritual revelations into conventional medicine proved daunting. How could she reconcile the holistic, interconnected nature of existence she had witnessed with the often compartmentalized approach of modern healthcare? Dr. Cohen began to explore new approaches to patient care, drawing inspiration from her otherworldly experience. She started incorporating elements of mindfulness and meditation into her pre-operative consultations, encouraging patients to tap into their inner resources for healing. Her understanding of the body's energy systems, gleaned from her Kabbalistic insights, led her to collaborate with alternative practitioners like acupuncturists and energy healers. Dr. Cohen's approach aligned with emerging research in integrative medicine. Studies had shown the potential benefits of combining conventional treatments with complementary therapies. She found herself at the forefront of a growing movement that sought to treat patients as whole beings rather than just a collection of symptoms. As she implemented these new methods, Dr. Cohen encountered resistance from some traditionalists within the hospital. However, she also found unexpected allies among colleagues who had long sought a more holistic approach to healthcare. Together, they began to push for changes in patient care protocols, advocating for treatments that addressed not just physical ailments, but emotional and spiritual well-being as well. The results of Dr. Cohen's new approach began to manifest in surprising ways. Patients reported faster recovery times and improved overall well-being. Even more intriguing were the cases where individuals experienced unexplained improvements in conditions that had previously been deemed untreatable. As word spread of Dr. Cohen's innovative methods, she found herself at the center of a quiet revolution in medical understanding. Her experiences were challenging long-held beliefs about the nature of healing and the limits of medical science. Researchers began to take note, initiating studies to explore the potential mechanisms behind these unconventional outcomes. Dr. Cohen's journey of integrating her spiritual insights into her medical practice was far from over. As she continued to push the boundaries of conventional medicine, she realized that her near-death experience had not only transformed her personal beliefs, but was now reshaping the very landscape of healthcare. The impact of her new approach was rippling outward, touching the lives of patients and fellow medical professionals alike. As Dr. Cohen reflected on this profound shift in her professional life, she couldn't help but wonder how these changes would affect her personal relationships and spiritual practice. The journey that had begun on the threshold between life and death was now leading her into uncharted territories of human experience and understanding. What happens when ancient religious practices collide with direct personal experiences of the divine? Dr. Cohen's journey was about to challenge not just her own faith, but the very foundations of traditional Jewish observance. The revelations that awaited her would blur the lines between mystic and heretic. As Dr. Cohen returned to her daily life, she found herself viewing her Jewish heritage through a radically new lens. The rituals and prayers that had once felt like mere cultural traditions now pulsed with hidden meanings and cosmic significance. Each Shabbat candle seemed to flicker with the divine light she had witnessed in her near-death experience, and the words of the Torah took on layers of mystical depth she had never before perceived. This newfound spiritual awareness, however, brought with it a host of challenges. How could she reconcile the direct personal encounter she had experienced with the more structured, communal nature of traditional Jewish practice? The standardized prayers, once comforting in their familiarity, now felt restrictive, unable to fully capture the vastness of her spiritual awakening. Dr. Cohen began to explore alternative approaches to Jewish spirituality, delving into Kabbalistic meditation techniques and seeking out teachers versed in Jewish mysticism. She found herself drawn to the writings of Abraham Abulafia and other medieval Jewish mystics, their accounts of ecstatic experiences resonating deeply with her own. As news of Dr. Cohen's spiritual transformation spread through her community, reactions were mixed. Some embraced her journey, seeing it as a validation of Judaism's mystical traditions. Others viewed her new practices with skepticism, concerned that she was straying too far from orthodox observance. Rabbi David Stern, a respected scholar of Jewish mysticism, offered a nuanced perspective. Throughout our history, Judaism has grappled with how to integrate profound personal experiences of the divine into communal practice, he explained. Dr. Cohen's journey echoes those of mystics and prophets who have shaped our tradition for millennia. As Dr. Cohen navigated this spiritual landscape, she found herself increasingly drawn to leadership roles within her community. She began offering classes on Jewish meditation and leading discussions on the intersection of science and spirituality. Her unique blend of medical expertise and mystical insight attracted a diverse group of seekers, from longtime synagogue members to those who had previously felt alienated from organized religion. This growing involvement, however, also brought new questions to the surface. How could the insights gained from her near-death experience be shared in a way that enriched rather than undermined traditional Jewish practice? As she prepared to address her community on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year, Dr. Cohen knew that her words would have the power to transform not just individual lives, but the very nature of Jewish spirituality in the modern world. Can a single person's spiritual awakening reshape an entire faith? As word of Dr. Cohen's near-death experience spread, religious leaders found themselves grappling with a fundamental question. How do ancient traditions adapt to accommodate direct, personal encounters with the divine? The initial reactions from religious leaders to Dr. Cohen's story were mixed. Some embraced her account as a profound affirmation of spiritual truths, while others viewed it with skepticism and concern. Rabbi Menachem Goldstein, a prominent figure in the local Jewish community, expressed both fascination and caution. Dr. Cohen's experience is undoubtedly powerful, he said, but we must be careful not to let individual revelations overshadow centuries of tradition and communal wisdom. As Dr. Cohen shared more details of her journey, conflicts between her revelations and established dogma became increasingly apparent. Her descriptions of the afterlife and the nature of the soul challenged some fundamental tenets of traditional Jewish theology. This tension wasn't unique to Judaism. Throughout history, mystics and visionaries have often found themselves at odds with religious orthodoxy. The 12th century Jewish philosopher Maimonides grappled with similar issues, attempting to reconcile mystical experiences with rational theology. In Christianity, figures like Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross reshaped Catholic spirituality through their vivid accounts of divine encounters. Even in Islam, the poetry of Rumi and the teachings of Ibn Arabi pushed the boundaries of conventional religious thought. Dr. Cohen's near-death experience also resonated with accounts from other faith traditions. Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who had his own profound NDE, found striking similarities between Dr. Cohen's story and his own journey into what he called the core, a realm of unconditional love and cosmic interconnectedness. As discussions about Dr. Cohen's experience intensified, a sense of anticipation began to build. Could her story, along with others like it, spark a broader spiritual awakening? Dr. Raymond Moody, renowned for his research on near-death experiences, suggested that such accounts might be paving the way for a more expansive understanding of consciousness and spirituality. Gradually, a more inclusive, mystically informed approach to faith began to emerge. Religious leaders and scholars started to explore ways to integrate these profound personal experiences into existing frameworks of belief and practice. Rabbi Rachel Adler, a prominent Jewish feminist theologian, proposed a new model of spiritual authority that gave equal weight to traditional texts and personal revelation. As the ripples of Dr. Cohen's experience continued to spread, she found herself facing a new challenge. How would these seismic shifts in her spiritual life affect her personal relationships? The journey that had begun on the threshold between life and death was now leading her into the complex terrain of family dynamics and long-held beliefs. When Dr. Cohen returned home from the hospital, she found herself facing a new and unexpected challenge. How could she convey the profound nature of her near-death experience to those closest to her? The initial reactions of her family and friends ranged from cautious curiosity to outright skepticism. Her husband, David, a fellow physician, struggled to reconcile his wife's transformation with his own scientific worldview. "I know what I saw in that hospital room," he confided to a colleague, "but Rachel's talking about things that just don't fit into our understanding of medicine or consciousness." Dr. Cohen's teenage children, Sarah and Jacob, responded with a mix of fascination and concern. Sarah, always the more spiritually inclined, peppered her mother with questions about the afterlife and the nature of reality. Jacob, on the other hand, retreated into a shell of discomfort, unsure how to relate to this new version of his mother. As Dr. Cohen attempted to share the depth of her experience, she found herself grasping for words that could adequately describe the ineffable. How does one explain colors beyond the visible spectrum, or the sensation of being everywhere and nowhere at once? The limitations of language became frustratingly apparent as she tried to bridge the gap between her transcendent experience and the everyday reality of her loved ones. The impact of Dr. Cohen's spiritual awakening rippled through every aspect of her family life. Her approach to parenting shifted dramatically as she began to view her children not just as individuals to be guided, but as souls on their own unique journeys. This perspective sometimes clashed with the more traditional parenting style of her husband, creating new tensions in their relationship. Research has shown that profound spiritual experiences can significantly alter social dynamics within families and communities. Dr. Kenneth Ring, a pioneer in near-death experience research, noted that individuals who undergo such experiences often report a heightened sense of empathy and a desire for more meaningful connections with others. As word of Dr. Cohen's experience spread through her community, she found herself at the center of a growing circle of individuals seeking deeper spiritual understanding. Some were drawn by curiosity, others by a longing for meaning in their own lives. This network began to take shape organically, with informal gatherings in living rooms and coffee shops evolving into more structured discussion groups and meditation circles. The long-term effects on Dr. Cohen's community were both subtle and profound. As more people engaged with her story and the questions it raised, a shift began to occur. Conversations at synagogue events and school functions took on a more contemplative tone. People who had never before considered spiritual matters found themselves exploring new ways of understanding their place in the universe. As Dr. Cohen watched this supportive network for spiritual exploration take root and grow, she felt a sense of purpose that extended far beyond her medical practice. She realized that her near-death experience had not only transformed her own life, but was now catalyzing a broader awakening in those around her. This realization filled her with both excitement and a deep sense of responsibility. Imagine a scientist stepping onto a stage, not to present research findings, but to share a deeply personal spiritual journey. This was Dr. Cohen's reality as she made the courageous decision to publicly share her near-death experience. Her story, a tapestry woven with threads of scientific rigor and mystical insight, was about to challenge the boundaries between two seemingly incompatible worlds. As Dr. Cohen's account spread through academic circles and spiritual communities alike, reactions were as diverse as they were intense. Some of her medical colleagues recoiled, viewing her revelations as a betrayal of scientific principles. Others, intrigued by the implications of her experience, cautiously opened their minds to new possibilities. In the spiritual realm, Her story was met with a mix of reverence and skepticism, with some embracing her as a modern-day prophet, while others questioned the authenticity of her claims. Undeterred by the controversy, Dr. Cohen embarked on a mission to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. She organized symposiums where neuroscientists and mystics could engage in open dialogue, creating a space where the language of brainwaves could mingle with discussions of cosmic consciousness. These gatherings, tense at first, gradually evolved into vibrant exchanges of ideas, challenging long-held assumptions on both sides. Dr. Cohen wasn't alone in her efforts. She drew inspiration from other professionals who had walked similar paths. Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who had his own profound near-death experience, had already begun reshaping the conversation around consciousness and the brain. Together, they collaborated on research projects that sought to measure the neurological impacts of spiritual practices, pushing the boundaries of what science considered possible. As these efforts gained momentum, a palpable sense of anticipation began to build in both scientific and spiritual circles. Could this interdisciplinary approach unlock new understandings of consciousness? Might it lead to breakthroughs in treating mental health disorders or even in understanding the nature of reality itself? The impact of Dr. Cohen's work began to manifest in unexpected ways. Medical schools started incorporating courses on spirituality and healing into their curricula. Research grants were allocated to study the effects of meditation on brain plasticity. Even hardened skeptics found themselves engaging with questions they had once dismissed outright. As new studies emerged and understanding deepened, Dr. Cohen realized that her journey was far from over. The bridge she had helped to build between science and spirituality was still in its early stages, with much left to explore. As she prepared for her next research project, she couldn't help but wonder what other revelations awaited on the horizon of human consciousness. Dr. Rachel Cohen's journey, which began with a profound near-death experience, continued to unfold in unexpected ways years after that fateful day. As she sat in her study, surrounded by a blend of medical journals and ancient spiritual texts, she reflected on the path that had led her to this moment. The integration of her otherworldly encounter with her scientific background had been a constant process, reshaping her understanding of reality with each passing day. Despite the years of research and exploration, Dr. Cohen found herself grappling with questions that seemed to defy conventional understanding. The nature of consciousness, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the potential for human spiritual evolution remained enigmatic puzzles that both excited and challenged her. These unanswered questions fueled her ongoing search for understanding, driving her to push the boundaries of both scientific inquiry and mystical exploration. In her pursuit of knowledge, Dr. Cohen had become a bridge between two worlds. She continued her medical practice, incorporating holistic approaches informed by her spiritual insights. Simultaneously, she delved deeper into the esoteric teachings of Kabbalah and other mystical traditions, seeking to unravel the cosmic truths she had glimpsed during her near-death experience. Her unique perspective led to groundbreaking research projects that merged cutting-edge neuroscience with ancient wisdom traditions. Dr. Cohen envisioned a future where the divide between science and spirituality would dissolve, revealing a unified understanding of human consciousness and its place in the universe. She dreamed of developing new technologies that could measure and map the subtle energies she had experienced, potentially revolutionizing our approach to health and well-being. As Dr. Cohen shared her ideas with colleagues and spiritual seekers alike, she sensed a growing anticipation for what these explorations might reveal. Could humanity be on the brink of a new era of understanding, one that would fundamentally alter our perception of reality? The possibility of future revelations, as profound as her initial near-death experience, filled her with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The impact of Dr. Cohen's journey on her life's purpose was undeniable. What had begun as a personal transformation had blossomed into a mission to expand the boundaries of human knowledge and experience. She found herself driven by a deep sense of responsibility to share the wisdom she had gained and to create pathways for others to explore the mysteries of existence. As Dr. Cohen prepared for her next lecture series, which would bring together scientists, philosophers, and spiritual leaders from around the world, she couldn't help but wonder what new insights awaited discovery. The journey that had begun on the precipice between life and death now seemed to be leading humanity towards a greater understanding of its place in the cosmos. Dr. Rachel Cohen's journey from skeptical physician to spiritual explorer reveals the transformative power of confronting the unknown. Her near-death experience not only challenged her personal beliefs, but also sparked a revolution in how we understand consciousness and reality. As we reflect on her story, we're reminded that the universe holds mysteries far beyond our current comprehension. Perhaps the most profound lesson from Dr. Cohen's experience is the importance of remaining open to ideas that challenge our worldview. In a world where science and spirituality often seem at odds, her journey suggests that true understanding may lie in bridging these seemingly disparate realms. By embracing both empirical evidence and mystical insight, we may unlock new frontiers of human knowledge and experience. As we conclude, we're left with a thought-provoking question. Could our consciousness be more than just the product of our physical brains? Dr. Cohen's story invites us to consider the possibility that our awareness extends beyond the confines of our bodies, connecting us to a vast, unseen reality. This tantalizing prospect opens doors to further exploration, promising to reshape our understanding of life, death, and the nature of existence itself.